You remember that thing I showed you last episode? Hopefully you do, because it's not been a very long time ago. Basically, you want to drag a sample into a sampler to kind of play it as a pitch. Well, some recordings are just a bit shit. Like, there's just noise in there, and it's I just messed this up a bit for you here. If we drag this into a sampler and try to play it, let's be real, it's gonna sound a bit. Let's just turn this up. Maybe you like this kind of noise, I don't. It's a bit much. So what we can do, and there's ways to do this with plugin and with Bitwig stock, basically what we want is some kind of spectral effect that separates out noise and pitch components of a sound. You can use Bitwig's transient split for this. So you can listen to these two chains, transients, and tones, and basically just turn the transients down. This sounds a bit spectral and a bit so maybe we want to tweak this a little bit, add some smoothing and maybe mix in a little bit of the noise just to keep it a little more natural. Maybe fiddle with the tilt. Maybe the bias towards the transient. Then before. After. Quite effectively denoised. Let's maybe also just bring in a loud split and do a similar thing. Let's just listen to the different components to kind of clean it up a bit. So this we can leave untouched, mid. And then the quiet we have a bunch of high end basic we don't want. And let's maybe also mix this in. And this way we can kind of clean up our sound. So without, with, this is gonna make a much cleaner pad sound, and this works better on some sounds than others. This sound actually didn't work as well as I expected, but that's just what happens when you try to show stuff for a video. We can do a similar thing here again. Just kind of maybe add a little bit of filtering per note. And then also maybe add another transient split, and I don't know, just fade the sound towards the tones. Actually, I didn't even bounce this in place, so we need to bounce this in place, of course. And then we can drag it into a sampler. Very professional. So here, yeah, you're gonna hear this is way cleaner. Because now we've applied the effects that we put there. If the spectral warbliness and stuff is bothering you a little bit, you can add like a tiny bit of noise back in by just kind of maybe chorusing the sound a little or something. Can make it sound just a little bit more natural. But yeah, that's kind of something to try. Another way of doing this, let's just undo our bounce here, is that you would use a plugin for this. So the plugin I know that can do this is all the Melder multiband splits, so which doesn't really matter. You can use like M Dynamics MB, M Wave Shaper MB, that kind of thing. Let's use M Dynamics MB. And let's just load the default preset. So this is basically not doing anything. And then what we want to do is we want to remove the band and delete band. And then we want to use a different split mode, which is called transient split, tonal transient. This does basically the same thing. So if we listen on the right, and then on the left, so we can kind of use this the same way by just turning down the volume of the transient band, which is kind of going to remove the noise. And because we're doing this over and over, it's starting to sound a bit horrible, but you get the idea. And this also has a spectrum split, which is basically the same as Bitwig's loud split. So like, this is sort of the quiet stuff. This is the loud stuff. So these kind of things, just for kind of some basic denoising type stuff. You can also automate these, of course, and this kind of stuff will just make the spectral warbliness a bit more subtle. But these are some kind of techniques you can use to kind of clean up your samples before you load them into a sampler, especially if you want them to play very sort of harmonically dense material. All that noise is really going to stack up, so you probably want to remove a bit of it before you do that. Cheers.